Ryan, I want to ask you, I have found the Signal Gate story like a little overblown in the sense that like there was nothing in that signal that I thought was like, it's going to allow terrorists to like, nuke our country. Do I love that our national security team was texting on any kind of chain? No, I do not. But I have been actually curious just about, because I'm messy and I love drama, just about like the behind the scenes drama of this entire thing. And over the weekend, the Wall Street Journal reported that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is on thin ice in the aftermath of the Signal Gate, and he has lost sway with the president and his senior aides. Trump, quote, is reportedly furious with Waltz and in private has unloaded expletives and blame Waltz for the administration's first big national security crisis. Waltz has been doing a real piss poor job defending himself on TV. I don't know if he's just like not media trained. I don't know what's going on. And the question of whether or not Mike Waltz was actually friends with Jeffrey Goldberg is something people still have a lot of questions about. I want to show this clip of Jeffrey Goldberg basically saying Mike Waltz is a big fat liar. If we have the clip.
Staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated. I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
Jeffrey, what do you make of those explanations?
Ridiculous.
This isn't the Matrix. Phone numbers don't just get sucked into other phones. I don't know what he's talking about there. Very frequently in journalism, the most obvious explanation is the explanation. My phone number was in his phone because my phone number is in his phone. He's telling everyone that he's never met me or spoken to me. That's simply not true. I understand why he's doing it. But this has become a somewhat farcical situation. There's no subterfuge here. My number was in his phone. He mistakenly added me to the group chat. There we go.
Okay, Ryan, really quick. I've got some weird people in my phone. I think I probably have like the best, weird, amazing people in my phone. I actually have Pauly Shore's phone number at my phone. That's a very long, old story. He's a very nice man, by the way, and still an icon. But I want to say, or a phone number that I haven't texted him in a long time, but it's his old phone number if it's not the current one. Phone numbers, but that phone number got there because he gave it to me. Like phone numbers don't just appear. Is Mike Waltz lying? And the subtext of this is that Mike Waltz was maybe leaking to Jeffrey Goldberg if he had his number on his phone.
Well, that's the accusation from a lot of right-wing people. What I would say, I met Mike Waltz one time when we had a meeting about his potential run for governor of Florida. And he was just picking my brain about certain things. And very nice man, trying to do the honorable thing by taking the blame and trying to be like, I'm a stand-up guy, look at this. And he is from my interaction with him that one time, seems like a very honorable guy. I will say this is when you blame a staffer, say you fired somebody and you move it along. Say, I gave my phone, say, please add so-and-so, they got the wrong person, that person is no longer working for me. And you carry on, and someone bites the bullet, takes the fall for the principal, which is your job as a staffer. Your job is sometimes to fall on the sword for your boss. It's not wonderful, but it does happen. You just take the blame and you do it for the team overall. And he should have done that. He should have done that from the beginning. Just sat there and said, I gave it to a staffer. They had the wrong phone number. My mistake. I have a lot of reporters' numbers in, and I converted phones, and I brought all the numbers with me. Just let it go, and it would not have carried on. But this is like the lie is worse than the actual crime. The cover-up is worse than the crime.
Yeah.
That's very much this going on right now. If it wouldn't have been so elaborate, they could have just kept it moving. But he just made it such a big story.
Ryan, people need to scalp for this because the controversy is dying down a little bit, but it's still like kind of a big one.
Yeah.
Do you think Mike Waltz is going to get fired? Do you think a staffer is going to get fired? The fact that Trump was, quote, unloading expletives, that's not great.
No, I wouldn't say that's good when your boss is doing that.
Yeah.
I think that he's probably not going to be fired just because that would give the media a scalp, and they don't like doing that. But he's probably definitely on very, very thin ice. So he's probably got one big strike against him, and he better carry off a very flawless operation from here on out. Otherwise, if he becomes the main conversation when you work in politics, by principle, I mean the main person. So the main person is Trump, and Waltz is his employee, right? Essentially. You are never to become a bigger story than the principal. You're never supposed to become a bigger conversation
Yeah.
than the person in charge. So the fact that he is a bigger conversation than the president is a very, very bad sign. He also embarrassed everyone really in that group text as they were asking about everything. So you better carry out a pretty flawless operation from here on out. You better sit there and say you spoiled a terrorist operation, something like that. And you can recover, but it's got to be pretty flawless and you have to just stop talking about it and making up excuses. You should have just blamed somebody from the get-go, say so and so had my phone, did it, made a mistake, they're released now, they're no longer working for me, and carry on. It would have been utterly fine.
Just to put a pin on this, do you think the scandals we've moved on from it? Do you think people
Yeah.
care?
I think people moved on from it. I mean, people cared for sure, but I think they moved on for it.